was just very intimidating at first for me, because I thought, man, I've been cooking my whole life and baking my whole life, and I don't want to live off zucchini and, so it was a challenge, but of course, lots of trial and error. And now I'm pretty convinced I can make anything for anybody and they're going to love it.
As a vegan, do you ever feel like you're living in a parallel universe, aware of things that many others don't even seem to notice, let alone acknowledge? I'm Chrissy Benson, host of the Vegan Posse podcast. We talk with vegans from around the globe who, like you, are living lives of integrity and compassion with an eye toward justice. Through their personal stories, you'll come to see that you're not an outlier. In fact, you're part of an entire posse of individuals who aren't just keeping the peace, they're creating it through their food choices and beyond. You won't be saddling up, but you're in for the ride of your life. Welcome to the Vegan Posse. Hey Posse, I'm Chrissy Benson, host of the Vegan Posse, bringing vegans together to help animals everywhere. Mark your calendars for the very first Posse Soiree, Wednesday, April 16th at 10 a.m. Central via Zoom. It'll be a cross between support group and fun group hang. The link is below. It's totally free, so come if you can. I would love to see you. Also mark your calendars for Vegan Summerfest, July 9th through the 13th in Johnstown, Pennsylvania. It's always an incredible time with amazing speakers, fabulous vegan camaraderie, and even more fabulous all vegan food of every niche and variety you can think of, from raw to SOS free to vegan comfort food. I'll be giving several talks there, and I'd love to connect with you all in person. So drop me a line if you're planning to attend. You can reach me at veganposse.email@gmail.com. In addition, the link to register for Vegan Summerfest is below. And when you do, make sure to let them know that you're part of the Vegan Posse with me, Chrissy Benson. Finally, if you're interested in holistic health coaching, personal coaching, or internal family systems therapy to help you create a rich and rewarding life and make the most of this human experience, I can help. The best way to reach me is christinembenson@gmail.com or through my website, christinemelaniebenson.com. And now for this week's episode. This week, the Vegan Posse welcomes Brandi Doming from Houston, Texas. Brandi is the creator of the vegan food blog, The Vegan 8, and author of the brand new cookbook, Vegan Wholesome, which I've got right here. It's gorgeous and delicious, both inside and out. Brandi went vegan in 2012 to support her then husband, who had severe gout, and that was just the beginning of Brandi's vegan journey. This, her second cookbook, is available for pre-order until April 15th, 2025. And if you pre-order it, you'll get 10 special bonus recipes. So check it out. Vegan Wholesome focuses on whole food-based recipes that are nutrient-dense with lots of high-protein options. Brandi's got an incredible story, which of course is ongoing. So enjoy this conversation with Brandi Doming. Brandi, welcome to the Vegan Posse. Are you ready for the ride of your life?
I definitely am. Thank you for inviting me.
My pleasure. So you've done a lot of interesting things, and you have a food blog called The Vegan 8, and you've written a cookbook, a new cookbook too, which just came out, which is gorgeous. I am so excited about this. So I want to hear all about that stuff, but I really like to take it back to the beginning with people. So can you just tell a little bit about where you're from and how you grew up and whether you ever thought about the animals in our food system when you were a kid?
I'm from Houston, Texas, and I'm born and raised. I still live here. I have a daughter. She's 13. She's been raised vegan as well. I went vegan in 2012, so she was a baby when I went vegan. I was nursing her, so she's been raised without any meat or dairy, which I know is rare these days. But she's extremely healthy. She's like a top gymnast, so the whole myth that you can't be strong without meat is, I prove you don't need that with my daughter. But I went vegan, in 2012. And the reason I went vegan, I was married at the time, and he had gout, very debilitating gout, which is extreme arthritis for people who aren't aware. And after trying many different diets for many years and nothing working, I started reading about plant-based eating and, it helping with inflammatory arthritis and things like that. So I finally started feeding him nothing but plants and removing all dairy, all meat. And within a few weeks, he started to get better. He was on crutches a lot. So he had a very severe form of arthritis, gout.
How
He
old was
was on a
he?
lot of medications. He's 6 years older than me, so he's 55 now. At the time, that was in 2012, so I don't can't
But
remember how old he
he
was then,
wasn't
but
old. He wasn't like an old man when he was having
no,
these issues. Wow. Yeah.
not at all. Yeah, gout usually affects men 35 and older. It starts around the age of 35.
Oh, okay.
And it
Okay.
mainly affects men. It does affect some women, but it's much higher in men. And meat is one of the biggest causes, especially, seafood and red meat. But the problem with it is that many doctors don't know what to recommend, and they would recommend that he would eat a lot of chicken and a lot of yogurt. So I was feeding him tons of chicken and yogurt and things like that, and he just was getting worse. And
Wow.
because the doctors don't even know. I mean, they
Yeah.
would just keep giving him more medications and everything. And so I'm like, well, I'm going to have to figure this out myself. So that's when I was like, okay, you're going vegan and I'm going to go vegan with you. So you don't have to do it alone. I didn't want to be, eating meat and ice cream in front of him and things like that. So I did it with him. And then I had my health improved because I had a lot of chronic sinus infections and digestion problems ever since I was a little girl.
Mm.
Bad. And when I removed dairy and
Mm.
meat, it was unbelievable. Like, I didn't even do it for myself. I did it for him. But
Mm.
it made my health so much better and me feel so much better and then I started to learn about animal cruelty, watching things online. And then it just became apparent that I wanted to be vegan for myself. So that's how I became vegan. And then I've stuck with it all these years. And of course, then I got pregnant with we went vegan when she was a baby. And here I am. I just started, sharing recipes online. I had already been sharing recipes online, but they were, meat and dairy. But then when I went vegan, I started, of course, had to learn a whole new way of cooking. And I just started sharing those online. And then people started making them. And then I had some, a couple of recipes just take off. And then I just started to think, well, maybe this could, be a career, because I'd always loved to cook and bake. And then here I am, my second cookbook coming out. So
That's amazing.
it
So
was a amazing
interesting, and
decision.
you covered a whole lot in that account,
Oh, I'm
which
sorry.
is
I
which
talk a lot.
no, it's fascinating, and I mean, there's just so much there that I'd love to dig into a little more.
Yeah.
But on the subject of
Yeah.
gout, it's interesting because my sister definitely dated somebody who has gout,
Yeah.
and yeah, it was something that I brought up, that I had, learned
Yeah.
this information about, vegan or at least vegetarian being helpful. And yeah, their doctors
Yeah.
had never brought this up. I don't think. I could be mistaken in that. But how did it go with your husband? I mean, was he on board with this change, and how was that transition for the both of you?
Um, well, he was reluctant. He's from Louisiana, so he's really into Cajun food and seafood. So he wasn't thrilled, to be completely honest, but he was also tired of being in pain and being on crutches and
Mm.
being on all the medication, because all the medications that he was on, they would have side effects. They would make him nauseated, increase his heart rate. And so I didn't want him to have a heart attack
Mm.
or, get worse. So I've always been a type of person where I want to do things naturally. And I've never been one to take, even headache medication. I've just never been one to do that. So I was always trying to figure out a natural way to heal him. But when he started to get better and he lost weight, because going plant-based, we weren't eating all that heavy meat and dairy stuff anymore. So he lost weight, I lost weight, and he stuck with it because he was better.
Wow.
So
And plus you were doing all the
I would say
cooking.
exactly. But he did struggle with it though, because he missed meat a lot. He missed seafood a lot. I have not had that problem. But I just did my best to recreate classics. So that's one thing that I like to do is recreate classics, of course, without meat and dairy. And, he came to love my cooking and I became really good at it. At first I was really afraid because I didn't know how to make ice cream without dairy. So it was just, of course I learned about cashews. And so it was just very intimidating at first for me because I thought, man, I've been cooking my whole life and baking my whole life. And I don't want to live off zucchini and, so it was a challenge, but of course, lots of trial and error. And now I'm pretty convinced I can make anything for anybody and they're going to love it. And I do that. I make, things that people are like, how is there not butter in this? Or how is there not meat in this? And so I love doing it now for people and proving that you don't need animals.
Right. No, I mean, and I always say that's arguably the most effective form of activism there is if you can get people eating wholesome vegan food and enjoying it, then you don't really have to talk to them about anything else if you don't want to. So I take it. So
I completely agree.
Your husband is still your husband?
No.
Okay.
No,
okay.
No, he's my ex-husband. We divorced in 2021. Yeah. So like a little over 3 years ago.
Oh wow.
So
okay.
we were together 19 years total.
Wow.
So a really long time, but
that
we
sounds
didn't divorce because of vegan though. It had nothing to do with the vegan thing. That's not why we got divorced.
Yeah, things
I just
are
thought I'd
falling
say
apart
that.
over a lot less and sometimes a lot more. But yeah. Is he still vegan?
No, he's not. No. I didn't even realize that. We co-parent really well, and I didn't even realize that he was eating meat again. But the thing is, another thing is, he lost a lot of weight, and gout affects anybody who's overweight. Typically, you're more prone to gout if you're also overweight. So he got heavily into fitness, pretty much lost any body fat, and he's very fit and muscular now. So he doesn't have problems. Now he can't eat, a bunch of seafood or a bunch of meat or things like that. But he doesn't seem to be triggered as easily. But, he's in really, really, really good shape though. So, the average person is fit. So they're going to be more triggered. And of course, this is one person. It affects people, everybody differently. But, we just differ in the animal cruelty part of it. I tried to get him to watch documentaries and things like that. But, my daughter is full on though. I've tried, to say, hey, you want to try it, so you can see that she refuses because she's grown up not eating animals. She knows, that they've been killed to be, so she understands fully and she wants no part of it, which I love.
That's adorable. It's so sweet. And how much number one, did you wrestle with that with her father in terms of whether you would raise her vegan?
No, he's always been in support of that.
Okay,
he's always,
that's
trusted
big.
he's always trusted my choices when it came to her, and she's always been extremely healthy. So if she's healthy, there's not really much you can say about it.
Yeah.
So, but no, he will not feed her, meat or dairy or any of that. He buys anything, all vegan products for her, and she wouldn't eat it anyways. But
Yeah.
No, he does respect that. Even though we're not together anymore, I'm thankful that he doesn't try to push that on her now. So he's very respectful in that sense.
Interesting. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
And with your daughter, was it how did you figure out how much information you did want to share with her about what's happening to animals and just about health even?
Um, well, I'm a very blunt, outspoken, honest, direct person in general. So
You're a
just at a
Texan.
very young age, yeah. Yeah, so I'm just very direct with her, and kids, they're very inquisitive. They're ask questions about anything and everything. So anything she asks me, I just tell her the truth. And so I've always told her this is where milk comes from. It's taken from, the cow, the mother. It's meant for the babies. I tell her how, what happens to the chickens. I've told her all of it. And she loves animals and she loves cats. We have cats, and she just can't fathom eating an animal. She thinks it's disgusting, to be completely honest. And I was making like just last night I was making a dish with jackfruit, where you shred the jackfruit and it looks like chicken. And she's never eaten chicken, but she was watching me shred it. Of course, she's seen her friends eat it. And so she's like, "Are you making chicken?" And I was like, "No." I was like, "It's jackfruit." And she was like, "Oh, thank gosh." But she got worried for a second. I was like, "Of course I'm not making chicken." But no, she wants no part of it. So I'm just grateful for that. So I've just I taught her everything and how you're healthier, and she is extremely healthy. So I just tell her anything and everything about it, how it's better for her health. It's better for, for the animals and all that. So it works. Just being honest with her.
Right, right. Imagine that, like being honest with kids and not lying to
Yeah.
kids and not just, yeah,
Right.
sugarcoating
Yeah. I
reality.
don't sugarcoat anything.
Yeah, yeah. Except maybe for desserts here and there. Yes.
I was going to say, even when she goes to like some birthday parties with her friends, they'll have cupcakes or cake. And, I'll tell her, if you want to try it, you can. I don't want her to feel like left out or something, or like she's not a part of it. And she never wants to. She's like, "No, I don't want it." So it's not like I'm forcing her. I've raised her to believe a certain way, but I'm also trying to let her know that I'm not trying to control her or shove something down her throat, because she's going to be 14 soon, and she's making that choice herself because of how I've taught her. So that's what I'm grateful for.
Yeah, well, you're grateful for it, but you also helped it happen by, again, just giving her
Yeah.
information and sharing values. And yeah, no, that's so sweet. I mean, that's
Mm-hmm.
what's so interesting to me is kids just naturally do get it. We don't sit
Yeah.
kids down with a plate of animal flesh on their plate and explain to them, okay, this is what had to happen, from this cow grazing in the fields to what's on your plate. We don't explain it to them and then ask them, "Are you okay with this?" No, we just feed it to them
Right.
and they eat it.
Exactly.
But yeah, most kids, if they knew, if they understood, they would have a different preference, to say the least. Does your
Definitely.
daughter have any vegan friends?
No, I don't know. She's never told me any of her friends are vegan. However, they're all very respectful of her.
Mm.
In fact, she does sleepovers a lot with her best friend, and her friend's mom will always buy her vegan pancakes or vegan waffles, or take her to eat and literally buy her vegan groceries at the store. So
Oh,
they're really kind. They're really supportive. And she's had, of course, some kids pick on her at lunchtime at school, and she's had little boys tell her she's going to die if she doesn't eat meat, silly stuff like that. But she's strong, and since she's been raised that way, it doesn't phase her. She just says, "Oh, well, that's ridiculous." She'll just say right back, "Well, that's dumb." So she doesn't let it bother her, because that's all she's known. I think it'd be different if she only been vegan a couple years, but that's all
mhm.
she's ever known.
Mm.
So all
Is
her friends
she
support her. They'll even try her food.
nice?
So
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm sure she has delicious food. So, I mean, that's a win for
Yeah,
them. But is she very similar
exactly.
to you, would you say? Like, does she have your personality, your temperament?
Yeah, we're both very silly, very goofy. I would say she's more shy, but that's also because she's a kid. I was extremely shy when I was her age. In fact, I was way more shy than her at
Mm.
her age, but now I'm very outgoing and very talkative. And she's like that too with people she knows, but if she's new in a place, then she's very, very quiet, very shy.
Mm.
So we're opposite in that sense, but she's a very passionate person. She's, in gymnastics, she's in volleyball. So she's a real go getter. She loves exercise, and which I do too. So we're very similar in that sense.
Aw. What's her name, by the way?
Olivia?
Olivia. Aw. So
Yeah.
sweet. So
Yeah.
sweet. Well, I'll
Yeah.
put in a
She's in the book too.
Oh, that's amazing. That's amazing. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'll put in a plug too for an annual conference called Vegan Summer Fest. I don't know if you've heard about it, Brandy. It's a 5-day conference
Oh.
every July, and it's very family friendly. So they have a lot of activities for
Oh.
kids and for families. And it's really cool because a lot of the kids who come there every year, and so they have their vegan friends that they see every year, and many of them, kind of like Olivia, don't know a lot of vegans, or some of them don't have any vegan friends back home, so it's really nice for them to come to
Yeah.
Summerfest where everybody's vegan, everything is vegan, and it's just regular. So tell me about your cooking journey. Have you always liked to cook, and was that always a big part of your life even before you went vegan?
Yeah, I've been cooking out of my mother's cookbooks since I was probably around 7 years old. So I've cooked my entire life. I learned my mom was. It's not really surprising that I'm doing what for a living, what I'm doing, because my mom was huge on cooking. That was her very favorite thing to do. So she cooked homemade meals every night of our life.
Mm.
We never really went out to eat very much. And she loved to cook. She had a ton of cookbooks. She was always, looking up recipes and cookbooks or the newspapers. So I learned to cook watching her and through her cookbooks. So, and I started writing my own recipes in my 20s, and then, sharing them online and everything. And of course, and then I went vegan years later, but it's been a part of my life and something that I've always enjoyed doing. So I just never expected that I would be doing this as my career, but it was meant to be.
No, clearly it was divinely inspired, or something. What were you doing
Yeah.
professionally? Like what did you do, after high school and college, and like what was your professional path at that point?
After I graduated, I actually moved to Japan to model.
Oh.
But I hated it, so I quit that. Because you really got to watch what you eat when you're a model, and I like to eat. So that was not something that was not for me. And then I was in auto loans. I didn't like that either. That was extremely boring because it was a desk job sitting, 9 to 5, well, 8 to 5, and lots of traffic. And I've always been a real creative person that I like to work in solitude. Like I like working from home. I work from home, and I really like that. I was never somebody that enjoyed a desk environment, like, at an office. And so after auto loans, I went and became a realtor so I could work from home and,
Mm.
get out and about and meet people and work my own hours. So I did that for a few years, and then that's when I got pregnant, and that's when I made the decision, okay, we're going vegan. And then I started writing vegan recipes, and I created a blog just to post them somewhere. And then poof, I quit being a realtor and went into food blogging.
That's
So
amazing. And so you really took it professional early, from the early stages, which is a lot. Like, was that a big leap
yeah.
for you? And how did you make it work?
Well, thankfully, my husband was supportive of me doing that. He made enough money to where I could do that, that I could, and he wanted me to be a stay-at-home mom for Olivia, which I wanted to do as well. But also, I had made a pretty good money from selling houses, so I had a good amount of money saved because I sold a ton of houses, so that helped as well. So it just naturally transitioned, and I would test recipes during the day while, Olivia was in the high chair or taking, a nap. And then at nighttime, I would nurse her while holding my laptop typing recipes on my blog. So it was crazy and hectic, but I was determined to get it going, and I was excited about, writing all these new kinds of recipes that were vegan and gluten-free. So it was fun. And I was just a workhorse for years, like doing it like that. And so it's
And
just
how did
natural
you?
for me and where I'm happy.
Yeah, well, clearly you've hit, struck a chord with people and found your niche. How did you come up with the concept of the vegan 8?
Well, I came up with that when I was writing vegan recipes and posting them online. I was discovering, because I had no idea, but I was discovering there's a ton of vegan blogs out there. And I wanted to stand out and make a difference, but I was trying to figure out a way, how could I stand out from all the other vegan recipes? Because there's plenty of people writing amazing vegan recipes. And so I thought, okay, well, one of the biggest things that people are intimidated by when they go vegan or trying to go vegan or plant-based is, a new set of ingredients, or it's just a little bit overwhelming. So I decided to come up with all recipes being 8 ingredients or less. So that's where the vegan and the number 8 came. So I came up with that, and I thought, and also I looked at my blog, and I was realizing that the recipes that were getting popular and getting made a lot were 8 ingredients or less.
Huh.
So I thought, that's it. Those are the ones that people are making, that shows that they want it simple but still delicious and healthy. So that's where that came from. And so I did that concept for probably, it's been about 4 years now, where I stopped doing only 8 ingredient recipes, a few years ago, because I wanted to be more creative and because I love to cook and write recipes. So I thought, okay, I've been doing this for many years now, and I want to really let my creativity expand. So I don't do only 8 ingredient anymore. So my first cookbook is the Vegan 8, and it's all 8 ingredients or less, not counting salt, pepper, or water. But the second cookbook, there's no limit of ingredients. They're still easy, but they're not 8 ingredients. So that's the difference with the second cookbook.
Right. You allowed yourself to flip the 8 on its side. So now you're allowed an infinite
Yeah.
number of ingredients.
Yes, exactly. They're not like a mile long or anything like that. They're still easy and simple. It's still my style. It's just, I can make the flavors more bold and more exciting when I'm not limited. So,
Yes,
and
yes.
that's more fun for me.
Right. So how do you come up with your recipes? How do you get inspired?
Some of them come from my mom's recipes that I make vegan. Some of them come from just classics that I miss, or I could, be looking at a magazine and see something that looks delicious, but of course it's not vegan. So my mind is constantly racing with ideas. Or I get requests from a lot of my recipes are reader requests. Somebody will say, hey, I saw this, and can you make this vegan? And of course it's full of dairy and meat, so I'm like, oh yeah, send it to me, I can overhaul that and change it. Or they just request something. So it's just different avenues of how I come up with them.
And what's your favorite sort of course to work on? Are you big on dinner or appetizers or desserts? Do you have a favorite, or do you just love them all?
I would say soups
Mm.
and stews and chilies. That is my favorite thing to make. I feel like I'm really good in that area, because I love I love to eat it. So I love eating soup. So I'm very passionate at creating soup. So I can come up with a lot of different flavors. And I would say that's my favorite. And I also like pasta dishes. And my soups and stews and my pasta dishes do really well. And I'm really good at baking too. So I have hundreds and hundreds of dessert recipes.
No, I see that. And
but I try not to eat too many of them now.
Yeah. How would you say your recipes have, evolved over the time that you've been vegan, just in general?
Just learning about, since I started expanding my ingredient list, just learning about how many different spices there are out there. I mean, in all the different sauces and just, there's so many different inspirations out there. The longer I cook and create, the more excited I get, the more my, mind races with ideas. I'm just really open to trying anything and everything now. And, of course, learning about like jackfruit, you can make chicken with it, chicken. And just coming up with so many different ways. Like I love to use vegetables in my desserts in unexpected ways. I like to use zucchini, sweet potato, but you can't detect it. So, I don't want to make something healthy and it tastes
healthy.
odd. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Exactly. To me, that defeats the whole purpose. And I feel like there's a lot of recipes out there that are healthy, but then they don't taste all that great. And so my followers know that they can make my desserts and their non-vegan family and friends are going to love it because I'm extremely picky about the end taste and texture. Like you got to have both, in my opinion. Taste is great, but if the texture is not pleasant on, your tongue, then again, it defeats the whole purpose. The taste has to be number one. So I would just say that just constantly trying new things and trial and error to get them to taste as amazing.
Right. What would you say one of your favorite dessert recipes is?
I would say the chocolate cake in my first book, the Vegan 8 cookbook, the chocolate cake. It's the best chocolate cake I've ever had in my life. My mom said the same thing. It was the best chocolate cake she'd ever had. And of course, she's not vegan. Well, she's not alive anymore, but she wasn't vegan. And then I had, oh God, there's so many. I have a lot of cookie recipes. I love cookies. I love creating cookie recipes. I have some peppermint brownies that I really, really love. I have a sweet potato chocolate ice cream. That's
my goodness.
a really popular ice cream recipe. It's literally just chocolate chips, sweet potatoes, milk, and vanilla. You just blend it all up. You got to have the right ratios though, because it doesn't taste like sweet potato in the end. So that's a really, really good one. I couldn't pick just one, but I would definitely say the chocolate cake maybe, and one of my chocolate chip cookies.
Nice. Does Olivia like to cook too?
Yeah, she did a lot more when she was younger. She loved to try to pretend to be me, and she'd get out all the flour, the sugar, the baking powder, and she would just throw a bunch of stuff together in a bowl. And I'm like, no, baby, you can't do that. It has to be ratios or it's not going to work. But she loved melting chocolate. So she would always do anything where she could melt chocolate. So she'd just get it all over herself. But she did a lot. She loved to be real creative with that. But now that she's a teenager now, she's not as interested. She just wants to be with her friends. She's in that phase now, but
yeah,
she does help me a little bit, but she's not quite as interested right now. She'll come back to it though.
Right. And in the meantime, she has you making delicious food for her, so she doesn't need to cook. So why would she really? Like, what motivation does she have?
She loves my pancakes, so I make her homemade pancakes every morning before school, chocolate chip pancakes. So she actually gets really upset if I miss a day because she loves pancakes so much. I'm like, baby, you don't know how lucky you are. How many of your friends are getting homemade pancakes in the morning before school? She's like, I know, I'm spoiled. And I'm like, but I like doing it for her, and they're nutritious and they're delicious, and it makes her happy. So
Right, right. And anything that makes a teenage girl happy and that you can provide,
yes,
yeah, that's that's a win for sure.
yes, absolutely.
So, well, as an author myself, I know what it takes to get a book out into the world. So, I'd love to hear more about the process of getting, your first cookbook and your most recent cookbook out into the world. What was that like for you?
Oh, that's super exciting. My first book that came out in 2018. So that's been a few years now. That was really, really exciting because that was a dream of mine to do a cookbook, but I put it off for a while. I had, several publishers come to me, but I didn't feel like I was ready, for a while. I wanted to build my following first to make sure that it was a success. But that was a lot of work. Like I had no idea how much work writing a cookbook was until I did that first one. And I didn't even do all the photos on the first one. I did some of them, but the majority of them were done by the publisher. They had, in-house photographers and all that. So, but that was still a ton of work. With this second one, I did everything. I did all the photos, all the recipe testing, of course, wrote the entire book. So that was monumental amount of work. The only photos I didn't do were, of course, the lifestyle photos of me and Olivia. But it's also a dream of mine to put out this book, and the amount of work and passion that I put into it, I'm extremely, extremely proud of it. It took me, I'd say, a little over 3 years to finally get it done. It was a lot of work. When I first started writing recipes for it, I was just going through, the divorce and everything. So it kind of took a while to get it all done. And then, of course, I hadn't signed with my publisher at the time. I just started writing recipes knowing what I would want in my next book.
Okay.
So,
And the
but
publishers
it's
found you through your blogs, or how did you connect with the publisher?
uh yeah, my first book, that's how they found me. They found me like social media or something, and they would email me. And so since I was getting contacted by several of them, I hired a literary agent.
Mm.
And so she helped like in an amazing way. She helped me negotiate. She got me, a great contract, which I let, of course she took over for that. And then that's how I got in contact with different publishers this time, because she's been a literary agent for many, many years. So I had 3 publishers contact me for this one to offer to do this book. So
Very
that
nice.
was very
Very nice.
exciting. Yeah.
Yeah. That sounds super exciting just in terms of
Yeah.
finally
Penguin was
bringing
always
this.
my dream.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And what, like, as you were creating it, taking those 3 years to really bring this project to fruition, what was your vision for it, for this book, and what did it and does it represent for you?
Okay, so there's a lot that's in this book because my life changed so much from the first book. Of course, I was married at the time, and Olivia was a lot younger because I was in 2018. Went through, a long, nasty divorce. We get along well now, but we didn't going through the divorce. It was really rough. I was going through a really bad depression at the time. So that was the last few years were really difficult. But one thing that's in this book that's definitely different is me sharing my story. I'm very vulnerable and open about it. That's the way I am with my followers because I want to connect with my readers and my followers. I don't want to just be just a food blogger. So I was very honest with them when I was going through the depression and how I came out of it. And one thing that I had always wanted to do since I was a little girl was be a ballroom dancer, to get into ballroom dancing and compete. So when I got divorced, that was actually something that I finally sought out and followed my dream of that. And that helped me to get out of my depression. And that became such a huge part of my life that I started sharing my dancing online with my followers. So that is kind of like part of me too. And a lot of my followers know me as that. So that's my story about my journey from divorce, depression, and dancing is in the book, in the beginning of the book. So it gives people an insight to who I am as a person, my struggles as a divorced mother, and all that, and how I just want people to know that I'm just a regular person and we all go through struggles, and that I turned also to more health and fitness and working out and exercising in addition to my dancing. So I would be healthier, not just physically, but mentally, because I believe it all ties together. So that's how my book starts, and just sharing how you can change your life. And because like I said, I believe a lot into mental health. It's not just eating and working out, it's mental too. So that's where the book starts out. But then also I always wanted to do a book that focuses a lot on high protein recipes, because a lot of people think when you go vegan, you're not going to get enough protein. And since I started sharing about my fitness online and my workout plans, a lot of my readers started requesting a high protein cookbook. So this book is, it's like my first one, whereas they're wholesome, they're nutritious, they're, whole food based, but there's a lot of high protein options. So it will help people not worry about getting enough protein. I teach you how to build meals in the book about amino acids, and just where you're not going to have any question about how you can succeed on a plant-based diet. So that's how this book differs, because it teaches you all of that. And there's 100 recipes. So you get to know a little bit about me personally, but then it's a cookbook though. It's not like
a
novel. It's an actual cookbook. Yeah. It's just, there's a little beginning part about me just to get to know me. The people that don't, of course, know me, that buy the book.
Yeah.
So that's how this one's different.
That's so interesting. And how long did it take you to decide what recipes to include? Because you must have so many at this point in your career.
Yeah. Well, I'd say like almost 90% are all brand new, because with the publisher, they want pretty much, recipes that aren't already out there. That way the reader is getting a benefit of spending the money. So that was a requirement. There's a few of my really popular recipes in the book, like my smashed chickpea Caesar sandwich. There's a couple of dressings and spices, and then trying to remember what else is in there from my blog. But there's a few in there that are like, my a lemon lentil soup is in there that's really popular with my bloggers. A white bean jackfruit chili. So those that are popular with my readers are in the book, but all the rest are brand new, never posted anywhere. So, like I said, there's a lot that focuses on high protein. The whole book isn't high protein, of course, because, every sauce and spice and appetizer is not going to be high protein, but the dinners, lunches, and soups, those are mainly all high protein, the main parts of a meal. So people won't have any issues.
Right.
Getting their protein goals.
I'm curious too, how much education did you need to do with the publisher itself? Like, did they know much about this world of vegan cooking, or did you find yourself educating them?
Yeah, no, they didn't know. No, they wanted to do a vegan cookbook that had high protein. Like that, like when I met with them, I told them that this is the kind of book I want to do. So it's, basically you're showing them like a mini version of what your book would be. You know, you're writing, putting that together. So I actually put that together, you know, multiple pages of that, and they fell in love with the idea. So, because there's there's plenty of high protein cookbooks out there. But a lot of them do rely on a lot of like store-bought meats, you know, the mock meats, or pre-made, you know, ingredients at the store, which is fine. But my book focuses on making things from scratch, or, you know, wholesome, nutritious, not difficult, but, you know, like I use like lentils and tofu, and I make things like, you know, of course, with all the beans and things like that. But I don't rely on store-bought vegan meat or store-bought vegan cheese, or, you know, things like that. And all my recipes also don't use oil. They use whole food fats like nuts and seeds and avocado and olives and things like that. That way they're more nutritious, because you get the full nutritional profile from the food, which is something I've always done since the beginning, that my readers know me by. So that's how it kind of set apart from other cookbooks, where there's not oil and there's not a bunch of, you know, the mock foods. So
Yeah. No, that's incredible. And you clearly brought such vision and just integrity to these recipes. I can tell that you really just bring yourself to these dishes, which is beautiful. And also I love that it has some of your own personal story in there. I mean, that just, I'm sure
yeah,
brings it all home to people, and they can see that somebody's actually putting these principles and this way of living into reality in her own life in a way that's really
yeah.
working. So that's exciting. Just before I forget, I want to do a shout out to my friend Martika Henner, who lives in Houston. I don't know if you happen to have ever crossed paths with her, Brandi.
No, I
Okay.
haven't.
Okay, she's a vegan friend of mine who I met when we were both living in New York City, but she's from Houston and moved back there a few years ago, and is very active in the vegan community there in Houston. For a while, she was
Oh,
organizing an
that's
event
awesome.
called Vegan Drinks, which I don't know if it's still ongoing, but I'll have to share this episode specifically with her, and put the two of you in touch, because yeah, two
Oh,
vegans.
yes.
Yeah.
What what kind of drinks does she do?
It was, well, she was organizing an event. It was modeled after an event that happens in New York City called Vegan Drinks, which is basically just a social outing at a local bar and
Oh,
restaurant for vegans. And so vegans come and they socialize, and then they have kind of an intermission where people share some vegan related announcements, and then just more socializing. And so it's a very popular, long-standing grassroots event in New York City. And so when Martika left New York City and went to Houston, she started, I mean, I haven't been in touch with her in a little while, so I don't know what's happening with it now, if anything. But when she first moved there, she had just organized the first couple of events, and several hundred people showed up, you know, for like,
wow.
yeah, which is phenomenal for, you know, any kind of new social gathering. So yeah.
Yeah,
But
I would love to check that out. So she still does it here?
I don't know. I'll have to reach
They
out to
think.
her and find out. I'm guessing she's probably not doing it, or I imagine you would have heard of it. But regardless,
Yeah,
it's definitely, yeah, a connection that needs to be made for sure. Um,
yeah. Well,
so
Houston's huge, so it's very possible I hadn't heard of it, because Houston is,
right.
there's so much going on here. It's so big.
Yeah. How is the vegan community in general in Houston?
Oh, it's improved a ton. A few years ago, I would have said no, but there's so many restaurants now that have a vegan section.
Wow.
Like it's changed drastically, and especially for Houston and Texas, because is, you know, hamburgers and hot dogs and barbecue, and so, but no, it's changed a lot. And of course, Austin is like 2 hours from me, and Austin's a very vegan friendly city. Um, but you know, yeah, there in Houston, of course, it's so big, and what we're known for is restaurants. I mean, there's a
Mhm.
billion restaurants here, and so it's nice to know that there's so many. And there's vegan pizza places now. I mean,
Mhm.
it's amazing. There's, Mexican places. There's I'll give them a little shout out. Cascabel, I think that's how you say it. It's Cascabel Vegan Mexican restaurant in Houston. The entire restaurant is vegan. And it's Mexican food. It's phenomenal. So if anybody is in Houston and listening, they definitely should check it out. I've shared about them on my page before, but they're really yummy. But there's other fully vegan restaurants here in Houston. So it's grown a lot.
That's so cool. That's so cool. And so in terms of your cookbook, like who do you envision as, kind of your avatar audience, like the type of people that you hope will really connect with this book?
I would say just knowing a lot of my readers that have been with me for a long time, a lot of mothers, that love to cook with their kids. A lot of them cook my recipes with their kids. A lot of grandmothers bake my desserts for their grandchildren. But I even have a good amount of men that make my recipes on a weekly basis. I know them by name. I recognize their accounts when they tag me, that they like to make vegan recipes for their wives. So honestly, anybody who likes to eat healthier but doesn't want to feel like they're sacrificing on flavor. Like if you go to my Instagram or my blog, you will see that it's not a site of boring salads and green smoothies and things like that. Like it's pasta dishes and stews and chili and everything that you could crave.
I love
it's
that.
in this book.
Yeah.
I have a whole chapter on casseroles, one dish casseroles and lunches and dinners and appetizers. And I have everything that you could possibly crave because I crave everything. So therefore I create everything.
Well, that's just a great tagline. I don't know if you use it as a tagline, but everything you could possibly crave. I mean, that about sums it up.
That's a good idea. Maybe I should change my tagline on my website.
That's good. I mean, that's hitting home with me personally. So Brandi, what's the best place for people to buy your cookbook, Vegan Wholesome? Again, it's so pretty. I just love the way it looks. Came out beautiful.
Thank you. Amazon, if they don't want to shop at Amazon, Barnes and Noble, Walmart, Target, Books A Million. There's, any place online you can find it right now. It's not, the release date is April 15th, which I can't believe it. It's less than 4 weeks away. But the main thing I want people to know is if they pre-order it now, they get 10 free bonus recipes, 10 free high protein recipes. And you only get those if you pre-order it before it comes out, the release date. So, and if they want those, all they have to do is email me or message me on Instagram. I'm at the Vegan 8 Brandi or the Vegan 8. I have 2 accounts. Or they can email me at the Vegan 8, and of course it's the number 8 at yahoo.com. And just all you got to do is send me a copy of your screenshot of your receipt, and I'll immediately send you the bonus recipes.
Perfect. So, well, we'll definitely make sure that people have those links and have that information, because I'm sure everybody is going to want to check out these recipes. So, well, thank you so much for joining us and for sharing about your story. You've definitely been through, it's definitely been a journey, it sounds like, especially these past few years. So again, congratulations in advance on this cookbook, Vegan Wholesome. And the final question that I have, which I like to ask all my guests, is there a particular word that for you sums up what being vegan is all about?
Passion. Compassion. And passion, I would say.
I like them both. Yeah.
Passionate about making a difference, not just in your own life, but of course the animals' lives. Your whole life can change just by choosing to eat differently. Mine changed completely. It changed my life, the way I raised my daughter, the way my career went, all because of choosing to eat differently. And I'm passionate about every single avenue in my life because of that. So I would definitely say passion.
I love that. Yeah, I resonate with that a great deal. And it is amazing how this becomes the precipice for what informs so much
Yes.
of our lives. Yeah, I didn't know it would be that way when I first went vegan, which was in 2011, the year before
Nice.
you went vegan. So yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah,
Awesome.
yeah.
Yeah. Well,
So
it
okay.
does. It affects the way you shop, the shampoo you buy, the clothes you buy, the shoes you buy. It really does change everything.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm. And
it's
the
a it's
way
a it's a great choice.
yeah, it's a great choice, and just it changes the way it changed the way I see the world in general. I mean, it changed. It's no exaggeration to say it changed everything. Changed everything. Yeah,
Right. I
in the best
completely
way
agree.
possible. So,
Hmm.
all right. Well, thank
Yes.
you again so much for joining us. Delighted to help get the word out about your cookbook, which is just gorgeous and so delightful with these delicious recipe dishes. So, we close every episode of the Vegan Posse by taking 30 seconds of silence for all the suffering animals, human and non human, who desire, as we all do, safety, happiness, and the freedom to live out their lives without interference. So, Brandi, I invite you to join me in 30 seconds of silence for the animals, and we'll conclude with the sound of the bell. Thank you, Brandi, and thank you, Posse. See you next time. Until then, stay strong
Thank you.
and stay true.
Thank you.